Broadcasting live from the Maidenbower Convention Center on the plain of Bellevue, this is Tap Tap Concede. Hey everybody, welcome to Tap Tap Concede today. I'm James, and I'm joined by Adam.
Hello.
Ben.
Hi.
And Nelson.
Hi there.
And we're back in these tiny boxes, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But first, let's thank the sponsors of the shows. We've got our friends over at cardkingdom.com/LRR. Make sure to do the /LRR. It applies the affiliate code. It lets them know that we sent you and that this whole business model that we have going back and forth for a decade works. They're a great place to buy cards. They're a great place to buy sealed singles. They sell binders and sleeves and dice and all that jazz. So please do go check them out. If at the end of your order you say loading ready run set me button, please, you will get a little 1-inch button that currently reads A Kingdom of Cards. A fan favorite button. For sure. I'm pretty sure it's a reprint. I'm pretty sure the last few have been reprints. I think this is the last reprint button, and then we move on to new ones.
So this has been like a modern Masters of buttons, basically.
Exactly.
What's your first pick draft of them?
I mean, A Kingdom of Cards.
Yeah, that's your go-to?
I think you have to first pick that one.
I think Mathis for blockers is like the Llanowar elves of this, and I'm always okay taking a Llanowar elves.
That one's good too. Flunge is also, a classic.
Flunge is a lightning bolt.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, thanks to Card Kingdom for sponsoring the show and a whole bunch of other stuff that we do. So cardkingdom.com/LRR. And of course, over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. You help us do all of this and you help us keep the lights on. Damn. One day. It's going to happen one day. Although it would be awkward because I'm at home right now, and that would mean I haven't paid my electrical bill, so maybe it's the best.
Do you keep doing that for, like, Tap Tap, usually? Because, like, aren't you normally recording these? Like, you have the power to instantly flip off all the lights in the studio.
Yeah. I realize now that I could just lean behind me and hit the light switches, but I don't want to break anything, so...
Yeah, that's fair.
Like Cameron's poor sweet brain.
Yeah, exactly. So we're back in these boxes because the four of us went down to Bellevue this past weekend, Bellevue being in the Seattle area, to attend our first event or magic event in a very long time. I think as a group of Loading Ready Run, we haven't done a travel convention thing since PAX East of 2020. So all the way back just early March of 2020. And we have a very simple rule at the office, which is if we travel internationally, especially to a convention like we have with Bellevue, steer clear of the office for a week. It's just that simple. So we're recording this on Thursday morning. So we've been back for 4 days now. And we wanted to get an episode of Tap Tap in to talk about our experience going to our first event in like 2.5 years, talk about just playing Commander and drafting and all that jazz. And the only way that we could do it for this Monday's episode was to record back in the boxes. So we're back in the boxes.
Wait, no, that's a different show.
You're right.
Oh,
that's
no.
the show we have now.
Step off my brand.
Crap. At some point, we'll have too many shows that I can't say anything without naming one of our shows. Yeah, I am concerned.
This is actually going to be an NC-17 stream where we all remove all of our clothing and then see if we can put it all back on.
Yeah. So
remember to subscribe to James and I's Caillou podcast.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
We'll talk after.
Yes.
We'll talk after.
From Rewatch with Hate.
Yeah. So yeah, we went down to Bellevue. It was CommandFest. It was put on by the folks at Pastime. They were phenomenal right off the bat. Big shout out to everybody at Pastimes, especially Candace, who kind of helped bring us all down and was super kind with her time and energy with us throughout the whole weekend and made sure that we were taken care of and we had, places to hang out and we had our panel and we had a bunch of stuff and we'll talk about all of that. But I guess right off the bat, just, I don't know, how is everybody feeling about going to an event again?
It was sick. It was so good. I was so happy. I kept my reoccurring phrase I said over the course of the weekend was, I'm so pumped to be out of Canada for a little bit. Like, not that I have anything against Canada. I just I like traveling a lot. So getting the opportunity to sort of slowly dip our toes in without, going for like a week or something like a PAX would be. Because like we went down on the Friday morning and then came back on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So it was like a really weird, like quick trip, except for Adam, who you took the Clipper. So you came down like the Thursday night and came back on the Monday morning. And it was such like a quick little beep boop, like in and out. That it was a nice way to sort of reacclimatize to the event, and it was sick. It was a good way to do it, and coming back completely COVID free after taking a bunch of tests and stuff, I am more inclined now to do it, especially if they do like the masked and vax requirements that they do.
Yeah, I will say that CommandFest Bellevue Pastime has a mask mandate inside the convention center at all times. And you have to show proof of vaccination upon entry, and it gets you a little wristband. So you have your badge and you have your wristband, and that's the only way that you're allowed to. That's the only way that you're allowed to get in the building, which definitely made it feel as safe as it possibly can be at this point in time. It's also it was not like I don't think I would be super down. Actually, I know I wouldn't be super down going to something like PAX right now, because you're talking about tens of thousands of people packed downtown. Restaurants are packed. Everything is just busy. This felt really nice. There was, it was a convention center with like hundreds of people, not tens of thousands of people. And it was Bellevue. So it's not like the downtown Bellevue core was packed with tens of thousands of Magic players. I would say the majority of people who were actually even at the event were from the area. Like I doubt that a lot of people traveled for the event. So all of those factors played into at least my decision, and I assume the three of yours decisions to say, you know what, I want to try to do this. I want to make it happen. And I'm glad I did, because like Ben, I had such a fun time. It was phenomenal to finally get to meet a bunch of people that, I've only been watching on the internet like a lot of people for the last couple of years. And yeah, it was just a great time. Nelson?
I want to say too, like, I appreciate that the mask mandate was put in place by Pastimes Games, or Pastimes events. Anyways, they did a good job of setting the rules down, but I really think that the participants, like everyone who showed up, everyone who came and played or hung out over the weekend, pat yourself on the back, because it requires both sides. Like if there's an overall feeling of like the rules are stupid and I don't want to put my pants on and go to school, Dad, like I'm not going to do it, and we've probably all of us been in rooms like that, even with other grown adults, where it's like the masking is like people aren't trying very hard, but everyone had their mask on the whole time, except to like take sips of their drink, which honestly I didn't do enough. I didn't drink enough water, partly because I was just like, this is sort of annoying. So I'll just try to remember to like slam a bottle like when I leave. Or like one morning I brought a coffee, and it was just like, and I saw other people doing it, where it was just like a little like tiny mask down in a sip. I didn't see anyone with like their mask off and they're holding a coffee and like pretending to have a conversation or play Commander. And like, if anyone gives them guff about it, they're just like, oh, I'm having my coffee. Like I didn't see any of that. I didn't see people half with their masks on. So
yeah,
I really
there was not like a lot of like
the participants,
like nose poking out from the masks at all, which I see all the time at stuff like this. It was great.
Yeah. And like, maybe that's the case. I doubt it though in Washington State generally. So we came back, and like I've had to go buy groceries since I've been here, and it's like, yeah, barely anyone in the Victoria grocery stores I go to are wearing masks anymore. There's a bunch of places here where masks are optional, and like I'm still usually always wearing my mask when I go into a building, whether I've just traveled or not. But just to see everyone complying and doing a really good job of it on the weekend, I really appreciate that. I had a lot of fun playing Commander. People, Ben and I kind of were, we were close. We were doing the same things Friday morning when we first got there. James had to go buy some cards, and it was like, you get in, there's a bunch of different options. There's like, registration tables or whatever. You can ask for help. You can sign up for different on-demand events, but we kind of just wanted to go sit in the free play area and play Commander. And like, that was enough. Like there was just some good times getting to play with people, like you said, that you've only seen or watched on the internet, and getting to meet them was great.
Yeah, it fills your day. honestly, especially like since like a single game of Commander can take like, you know, typically longer than like an hour. Yeah, it was a really good way, I think, of just like meeting people, like sitting down kind of like in a duo and jamming against random folks, because it was really cool to get that feeling again of being able to see people that enjoy our shit or our stuff. I forgot, but but yeah, and being able to kind of like give back a little bit. Like there was somebody who I ran into at the Starbucks that was attached to the hotel we were staying, and they were behind me and they were like, "Hey, Ben, can I buy you breakfast for you?" And I was like, I turned around and I was like, "No, that's okay. But I'm gonna buy your breakfast because you've given us more than enough money over the years." And like I bought them a coffee and stuff like that. They're like all flabbergasted and stuff. And it was just like, it was just good to be around like people again. It was a really nice feeling in that regard.
Mr. Savadan?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Commander player, but
You are in this room.
yeah,
You're so big.
You
Shut
play
up,
Commander
Nelson.
and you're the
You're very large.
Dummy. I am not the most enthusiastic Commander player in this room. It's not my format of choice, but it was fun. Everyone was super nice. Like almost all of our, like I don't think I didn't have a single like weird or bad experience with anybody. People were super chill the entire weekend. There's some people playing very goofy decks. Like, I don't know, from all the discourse I hear from, I mean, the only discourse I hear about Commander is from Twitter. So maybe
Yeah.
that's just not where I need to see my Commander discourse, but everyone seemed pretty happy, right? Like with everything that was going on. The only time, the only time I saw somebody even get unreasonable was I was doing the mystery booster sealed, and I was like in between matches, and I was walking through the tables, and this guy, sorry, this person was like, "Man, first strike is bullshit." And that was the only time I heard anybody get upset or anything, and I was like, "Preach it, you know, first strike is
Yeah.
bullshit." Yeah, yeah, first strike sucks. Yeah. So I don't know. Overall, it was a good weekend. I drafted a bunch of Commander Legends, Battle for Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I mean, I
Me
was
too.
curious about, because I definitely felt, and I'll talk about some Commander in a minute, but I felt like you definitely, I mean, how many of those drafts did you do? Like I feel like you did like half a dozen Commander
5 or
Legends.
6, I think
Yeah.
it was. I think it was like 6 total.
So like you like the format, I feel?
Yes, I think that format is actually excellent. It might be, it's my favorite since Battle Bond. Yeah, I don't know what it is about these like these like formats that we can't draft online, right?
like
Like
the
they've
non
really-
heads up kind
Yeah.
of non-competitive-y ones.
Yeah, I don't know. They've really hit something with this format, especially. Like, I did 6 drafts, and not a single one was the same. Like, I didn't really end up in the same kind of like deck over and over again. And I don't know, the format feels very balanced. It's very fun. Like, every time I played, everybody was doing something at all times. Like, the cards are like, there's nothing like, and since it's like a 4-player game, like, cards don't tend to take over, you know, because
Yeah,
people
every turn there's tends to be a new evaluation of who's in charge, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's just like, it's so much different from like a normal experience where like you could run into this in Battle Bond too, like where cards just take the game over and you can't do anything about it really. But for this Commander, it's like there's 3 other decks kind of working at the same time, and it's like if they could possibly have an answer for anything that was going on. Like there was no moment where or no game that I played this weekend where I felt like one player just kind of just did their thing and nobody else got to have any fun, you know? And like
Yeah.
all the commanders were super cool, and I don't know, it was just, there were some very goofy cards in there that I enjoy, and I think that it's just a very fun limited format, which is a shame because like apparently nobody's playing it, right? But I think that's just an extension of COVID and everything else, right? And the fact that it's not available online, right? So
I had a chat with Gavin Sunday afternoon, and I don't know if it's entirely COVID. I think partly it's like an ambitious set that's trying to still be a draft format that appeals to Commander players. So that's that's new territory, right? Like a lot of Commander focused players, like if Commander's your main format, probably draft is your very last format in the line, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just like it's trying to appeal to Commander players and it's trying to appeal to drafters, but drafters don't really like Commander and Commander players don't really like draft.
yeah,
Right, and that's a very broad generalization. Obviously, there's plenty of drafters and plenty of Commander players that love both. But it definitely feels like, especially I think the Commander players going over to the draft side of things is a hard sell, and I think that's the biggest thing. And we've been screaming. I mean, certainly at this point, I'm guessing that you've heard us sort of shout from the rooftops about how much we all really like this format for weeks now since it came out, months at this point. So I don't know how much more we can do at this point to tell our audience to go and play it. But I mean, if you're still sitting on the fence about this one, like, just go get it. You probably can't find a cheaper box of Magic cards to buy right now. Literally, they were giving them away for free at the party. Like, it's like, you just go out and grab a box and find some friends and make it happen. I mean, we did it a few weeks ago where we did a 4-player draft, right? Like, it wasn't perfect. It's not how it was designed to work, but
That's how they were running them at the event, though. They were just firing groups of 4.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. And I actually think it works fine. Like when we did it, it worked out great. Like at the office, honestly, like we each got like, you obviously, like when we do our 6-people drafts, you don't see as much of a variety. But everybody still got a commander and we still had a great game. Like that was that was the awakening of Adam to the mirror. And realizing the god tier.
One of my pods, they passed me the mirror.
And to just
Nice.
snap it
And
off.
I snapped it off, and then there was like I was playing with Melissa DeTora, actually.
Oh yeah.
It was
What's the mirror called again?
The Mirror of Life Trapping. And man, that card, every time I play, actually, well, I've only played it once this weekend, but that card is so polarizing. Like either you hate it or you love it. And it's like there's no in between. Nobody's like, yeah, it's fine. You know, it's I was like, man. And then the last draft I did of the weekend, we were drafting, and I think it was Voxy. It was like looked at because she was drafting next to Daniel Holt, and Daniel Holt was across the table from me, and she passes him a pack, and she's like, "Don't let him get this pack." To me, and I'm like, "Why?" And then he like looks, he's like, "Oh," and he takes it. I guess he took the mirror, like put it.
So my only beef with this card is I do think that it should say if you cast it from your hand.
So
we should read it real quick for people just listening.
So the Mirror of Life Trapping is whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if it was cast, exile it, then return all other permanent cards exiled with the Mirror of Life Trapping to the battlefield under their owner's control. So basically, it's like the pseudo limbo that your
It's a
creature goes
four
into.
generic to cast.
It's a revolving door.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you cast your thing, it goes into the mirror. If something was in the mirror previously, it comes out, and then the next time somebody it's like this weird limbo thing. But what I don't love about it is that it does like affect the command zone, and maybe that was like intentional kind of a thing. But it's literally my only beef with it is that like you can try to cast, like I think in the game that we played, I spent 7 mana to cast my 7 mana commander. And it's just 7 mana. Do nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
The game one of the games I played though, I was like, hey, if your commander gets under here and it gets destroyed, you just get your commander back, because there is like you could lose it forever, right? But I'm just like, no, I don't play that way.
If you're curious, the way the rule would actually work here is like when you cast your commander, if the Mirror of Life Trapping is out, you have to choose whether you want to just put your commander back in the command zone then or not.
You know what?
And so if you got exiled, then it's like if someone destroys it in a CDH game, it's like your commander's just gone.
Yeah. You know what else? Mirror shuts down completely. Myriad.
Oh yeah.
Nice 3/4 flyer.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, it's fine because it says if it was cast. It only exiles things that were cast, right?
Oh, okay.
no. Oh, if it was cast, yeah,
Yeah.
never mind.
yeah,
No,
if
you're
it
right.
enters the battlefield,
Yeah.
you're okay. Yeah.
Oh wow, even Melissa.
There you go.
played it
You were
wrong
going to lose
then.
that game.
All right.
Yeah,
Sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I just I can see why it's polarizing, but I'm also the person that's like, I played against two people this weekend who on curve slam down possibility storm.
Hell yeah.
And I just pop off. I'm so excited. In the second time I played it, I was playing a burn deck, so it was awful for me to be playing into, because I'd be like, all right, I'm going to cast this like 5 mana like burn or like wheel or something like that, and it turned into like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it. But for the most part, like, I love playing against like chaos decks.
So I guess that was Commander Legends, which a bunch of us... Actually, I don't think I actually drafted it once, which I was kind of sad about. But I got a box, so we'll do it at some point.
I'll draft with you, James.
Hooray!
Yeah,
with you,
I mean,
James.
I like that set.
Yeah.
I have a box too. It's burning a hole in my
Burning
pocket.
hole, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have a box, sorry, before we finish, I just wanted to say it only costs 12 packs to draft with you and your 3 friends. So it's like, if just your pod has never drafted, this is like a great way to start.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
You know
saying.
how I said, actually, now that we're still on the topic, you know how I said there was no cards that really took the game over? I'm gonna lie. There is one card that I thought was ridiculous, and if you draft this set, I think you should take it very highly. There is a background called Street Urchin.
Oh, yeah.
And I drafted it in 2 different decks, and both games it was absurd. It was just
You
like,
get treasures in this format a fair bit.
yes, you get treasure. You get a lot of treasures, and even if you're just sacking creatures, like there's a bunch of token generators and stuff like that. But Street Urchin was absurd.
So
Yeah.
Street Urchin, 1 in a red for legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have 1. Sacrifice another creature or an artifact. This creature deals 1 damage to any target.
Something I don't think about too, or that I kind of light bulb moment for me was like, oh, it makes everyone's combat step miserable because they try to do attacks and they try to like cheeky block. I block your 3/3 with my 1/4, and I'm like, I shoot it, and they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I get to do things on everybody's turn. I'm just like, yeah, I was a menace with that card. It was awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
My last game of the weekend, playing against a fan, AJ, and they could have killed me with their Street Urchin, but then they would have been tapped out to Angel's Swing. So it was like, it's a very precarious thing, right? Like, there's not a ton of life game in this format, so you will see Street Urchin threatening lethal.
Yeah.
But then sometimes there's an interesting politics thing, so I got into that position. The other thing I want to mention...
And you're like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and those positions can be fun when everyone has the ability to take everyone else out or whatever, one person out. It's like, it's not exactly Kingmaker. If like, it's more like superpowers or whatever. How they imagined things were going to work before World War One, like the idea that everything topples or whatever if someone makes the wrong move. The backgrounds in general, if you've read up in the format at all, you know that there's a bunch of legendary creatures that say choose a background, and that means you can have one of these enchantments like Street Urchin as your commander. But these can also just go in your deck, and they're all pretty good. Like, you might not draft a deck that's synergistic with everyone you see, but in general, if you've kind of figured out your commander by like the beginning of Pack 2, and then you just see on-color backgrounds, it's probably worth taking them.
Yeah. I thought my draft was tremendous. We did a VIP party draft. And I thought mine was like tremendously medium because I ended up with Rilsa Rail Kingpin as my commander, which is one of the uncommon ones that cares about initiative and stuff. And it's honestly a solid card. And I ended up throwing in the Dungeon Delver background just in the 59, I guess it is in this limited format, which is just
or 58, yeah.
Yeah, 58, which is that your room abilities trigger twice. And multiple times in that game, I finished the dungeon and got to double do like the grab 10 and put a card in. I got to do it twice a number of
Throne
times.
of the Dead 6.
Yeah.
dude,
it's
that's
sick.
so sick.
Dude, it's so good. It wasn't,
I
but it's
that.
like I didn't have any like bomb cards. Like I think the first one was like just that common beholder dude that like comes in and you can shoot an enchantment and lose like life equal to the power or whatever, or the CMC of the enchantment.
Mhm.
But even that just turns into like a 9/8
Yeah, it's
with
just
hexproof
big.
until your next turn, which is just like fine, right? Like, so yeah, it was sweet. I guess before we move on to like outside of it, my only kind of tough pinching point was I would have loved to play a lot more limited, but the way to sign up for them was a little bit difficult, I would say, at the event. Mainly because it was you had to do it all online through their website, which is like a totally fine way of doing it. Except I had like zero service in the convention center. So if for people that are like me that have pretty janky phones, having the only way to really sign up for events and stuff like that be going onto the website, paying through there and doing all that was difficult. I wish they would have had a just a place where you could walk up and sign up for things. That would have been, I think, pretty beneficial, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say one more thing. Like that VIP party, I drafted John Arenicus. And that is this most particular brand of goofy that I will never forget. Like that card, I don't know, so weird. It's just like, it's like a blue-black rare commander. There he is. Yeah. And like you give away your creatures to your opponents, and then they get bigger, and then they're goated, which means they can't attack you, but they have to attack every turn. And every time a goated creature attacks, you draw a card. So like I was playing with Nelson and Joey from EDH Rec and Daniel Holt again. Yeah. And they just like, they were just all killing each other. And I was sitting there with my one commander on the board, just drawing cards. And I'm just like, wee. I was like, you can, and every turn I played a creature and then I immediately gave it away. I was just like, and since I guess because it looks like I only had one creature on the board, everyone just left me alone. They're just like, yeah.
I feel like that was a common theme throughout the weekend when you would come back and we would talk after a game, which was everybody left me alone and I won.
Yeah.
I feel like that conversation happened at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. I just did the commander thing where you're like, oh no. And then all of a sudden I'm like, Crater Hoof Behemoth. And then everyone's like, oh, I'm dead. Yeah. Like, yep. Unlucky.
I mean, when you rapid fire commander games, I started to notice like a little bit of a pattern because it was like one person does something super powerful, so another person rises up to the challenge and fights them. You have a third person that's kind of like mitigating the battle between the two, and then you have one person who's doing nothing because they're like mana screwed or they don't have as powerful as plays. And then when all the other three are like tired from fighting so much, the fourth person comes in and like kicks the crap out of them with
or you just have a fourth player who keeps tutoring for Avenger of Zendikar.
Yeah.
When they could tutor for Crater Hoof, right?
Yeah.
That style of 4-player game back in YJ when the first conspiracy set was popular and drafted all summer, we figured out that if anyone misses a land drop in the first 4 turns, you have to kill them immediately. And that was the vibe. It's like if you stumble, everyone needs to kill you because otherwise what we just described happens.
Yeah,
right?
they just like get left alone and then yeah.
But that was the vibe in a lot of games I was in this weekend too.
So this is the Lure public service announcement. If you're playing Commander and something like that happens, no mercy. Don't roll the dice to see who you attack first. Own your attack, kill the weakling, and then continue on with the powerful plays.
Yeah,
Love it. All right.
Well, I mean, like with situations like that, I think it's because like the Baldur's Gate draft, it's like they paid money to be in it, so I really tried to spread out. I made more of a point of like spreading out damage and making sure everyone got to play as long as possible. Like a normal commander game where like there's no entry fee, just murder them. I don't really care. But I think that with draft, I'm just like more aware that I'm like, well, they paid $20, right? And I don't want to just like someone stumbles and we're just like, let's get them.
They shouldn't have stumbled.
No mercy.
Man, if you paid money to be here and you came in and stumbled, that's a bummer.
That's on you and God.
Free mulligans. You get a free mulligan at him.
Exactly. And
you draw a card even if you're going first.
Yeah. You always get to draw a card and you get a free mulligan. If you're still stumbling after that, I don't know what to tell you.
And a lot of Baldur's Gate draft decks, like they mulligan kind of well. Like there's a bunch of fixing and stuff and cantrips.
All right. before we chat about Commander proper, I figured we'd talk about a little bit more of the stuff that we did outside of playing games at the event. So on Friday night, the first thing that we were kind of involved in, although I wasn't, but these three were, was a game show. So just to give you kind of an idea of what you can expect at events like this, we played basically Family Feud, and y'all won. You did it.
We did.
You didn't
did.
embarrass me.
We kept our jobs.
Yeah.
For the first 4 rounds, it was close, but
Oh yeah, it was
No.
looking.
Well, it was like a blowout at the start because it was
Yeah.
like we were up against Cedric, Voxy, and Power Dragon, and I think we win the first round, and then we were feeling no.
We lost the first 2.
Yeah,
You lost the. I
Yeah.
thought you lost. Did you lose the first 2 and then 1/3, lost 4th, 1/5? I think.
Yeah, we
That
only,
sounds
won,
right.
we only won 2 of the boards.
But
Yeah.
you won the 5th one, which was triple
That-
points.
That's
so
the
you
only one that
redeemed yourself.
matters, really. Yeah. I think you really only need to win the last one, right? Unless you get swept.
it felt like justice to me because whenever the other team would get the higher answer on like the first initial buzz-in, they passed it every time.
Yeah. You know what's my favorite state of mind? Self-righteousness.
Yeah.
Those first 2 games, or those first 2 rounds too, we spent a bunch of time like with as the active player, I guess, and we like hemmed and hawed and had like a little huddle and tried to determine what all the best answers were, and we went through our 3 strikes and got a few of the hits. So it's like we did a bunch of the hard work for the other team, and then like the other team, the first 2 rounds got kind of pick it up.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, that's why
Like, grab-
fundamentally, from a metagaming standpoint, a lot of the time it is better to pass.
Yeah.
In Family Feud, which I believe is probably why they kept doing it, because if you play, you need to get every single one. If you pass and they mess up, you just need to get one, and you get all the points.
right.
Especially,
so there-
especially with these kind of questions, because they were very goofy questions. Like what plane would you want a vacation to? What?
That one pissed me off. So the number one answer that people said as a vacation spot was Ixalan.
Yeah.
Of all the planes, Ixalan was people's like go-to. Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like,
The Black Parade.
yeah. Oh,
Everybody wants to be a pirate vampire.
Nobody
I
said
guess.
Theros. That was just wild.
not a damn person said.
I was so
Theros.
sure that Theros would be in the top 4.
I thought I was down in the audience, and I was thinking somebody would have we would have seen the goat plane from Plane Chase, but I couldn't remember what it was called. So I'm like,
it was Lorwyn.
nobody else probably does either.
Yeah.
Isn't Lorwyn the goat plane?
I
I
thought
don't know.
there was a weird goat plane from
There might
from
be a
the Plane
different
Chase
one.
thing that's different.
Also, some
don't know.
some of those answers, like who were they at? Which 100 people were they asking? Because one of them was like lightning blank. What's
Yes.
the first card
Yeah,
that comes
yeah,
to
yeah.
your Lightning Strike wasn't even on the list.
Wasn't
Yeah.
even on the list.
Yeah.
And then I got chided for wanting to say ball lightning, but
Yeah.
lightning skelemental was on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, ball lightning doesn't work because it's not blank.
I get it. It's just people have heard of ball lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, we goofed it hard when we're like, oh, we can't think of literally any other lightning one, and Lightning
Lightning
Helix
Helix,
was
yeah.
on.
Yeah, we all
there.
blanked
I felt
on Lightning
so
Helix.
Embarrassed at
Yeah.
Yeah,
myself.
I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
That was rough. That was rough.
It was the
Sorry,
first
Lightning
one.
Helix. We let you down.
Yeah, but I mean, what I did like was the grand finale of it was like creatures that start with S that are spooky.
Yes.
Scary creatures.
and
that start with S,
we
yeah.
said snakes, which was like the second or
Second.
third. It was
Second. I think
second.
it was second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said
Skeletons.
Skeletons.
The world's the biggest throw I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my entire life. I don't know what was going on that side of the table, but I'm like,
it was on it. though,
skeletons.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the last
like
It was
one.
on the
fourth,
board.
yeah.
There's 4. There was only 4, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so we guessed spiders,
Yeah.
which was third, and then we guessed
We got spirits, didn't we? Or-
spirits, yeah,
Yeah.
which was not on there. And the number one answer was slivers with 50
Yeah.
of the survey votes or whatever. Which I mean, us being at a commander show, it made sense,
Mhm.
I guess. But I
lot of-
probably would have said like scarecrows if they asked me. Scarecrow is like one of the ones that I was like, that's got to be on there, right? But
You want to go to that answer because it's got scare in the name. They just ask you what are scary creatures, right? So the word scare is already there. You're like, scarecrow, that's a type. That's a creature type.
I felt like Kraven the Hunter from Spider-Man. I was trying to think like our prey. You know? I'm trying to think like Commander players. Like if I was a commander, if I only played Commander, how would I answer this question? Right?
So we did Family Feud. That was a lot of fun. And then on both Saturday and Sunday, they kind of set aside a little sort of creator area where you could sign up and hang out for a few hours. And we did that both mornings, and that was great. It's sort of just exactly where to find us. You can come by and say hi and get your playmat signed or whatever. So that was chill. Really enjoyed that aspect. And then we did a panel on Saturday evening, I think. Or afternoon or morning?
Saturday
no, it was
midday.
morning.
Saturday,
it was
Saturday midday.
It was in the morning. It was like
It was
11.
in the morning. Yeah.
And that was fun. That was the first time, again, like going back to the fact that I personally haven't done an event since PAX Unplugged in December of 2019. I don't think I've been on stage for almost 3 years. I was genuinely excited to get back on stage and do a Q&A with friends. It was legit really fun. Not something that I was expecting. Not something that 10 years ago, James, that you would be excited to go on stage. I would have been like, nah, nah. But yeah, it was just a ton of fun to get back up and, shoot the shit for an hour and riff on people's questions.
Questions were weird too.
People were asking some real o'clock.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we got a lot of really good questions.
Yeah.
Are the four of you really friends?
Yeah.
And how do you make it work? I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
All right, here we go, brother.
Somebody asked who we thought the best and worst writers.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't.
Let me just get my scalpel out here.
Yeah. Don't worry,
Cut
Paul.
everyone to
We
pieces.
shipped you right up that river. We were like, Paul's the worst. Paul's dog shit. He doesn't have social media, so he'll never see any of this.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Paul can be the scapegoat because he'll never find out.
But yeah, that was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. What else? I think that was sort of it for sort of extracurricular activities for us. They had panels going all weekend. Like every other Magic Fest in the last, I think, obviously not the last 2 years, but the last, 2 years prior to the pandemic, they were definitely trying to make a go at Magic Fest being more of a convention, a Magic convention with panels and VIP areas, and it's not just come in here and play in the Grand Prix kind of thing. And I get why they do it, but I would encourage any event organizer out there, whether you're Pastime Games or SCG, CFB, I don't care who you are, and I get that it costs money, but please get a panel room. That's all I like. It's the one thing that I would love. It doesn't need to be big. Panels are not the reason why a lot of people go to these events, but people do enjoy them. It's a nice way to kind of get out of the main hall for an hour and just kind of chill out and watch some people do their thing. But yeah, if you could get a small room close by, God, that would be nice, because it's just the acoustics are not great. It's kind of hard to hear. I will say that the one thing I loved about this event, as opposed to every other Magic event that I've ever been to, was they were not constantly on the PA system, firing drafts, calling people who were late for their drafts. It seemed like things were working really well in that regard. There were obviously a handful of announcements throughout the weekend, but I remember, 2018, 2019, back in the height of going to these Magic events, it was every 5 minutes they'd get on the PA system and talk about something. And it's just a lot. The actual space that we were in was amazing. For anybody who has ever been to the Child's Play charity dinner, we were actually in the exact same room that dinner and silent auction happened in. So it was really neat to get there and actually know exactly where I was and kind of have a lay of the land. the room was carpeted, which is definitely not the case for normal events. That helps a lot with the sound. The lights were not blaring. That helps a lot with just your eyes and
so
your
nice
heads.
and yeah,
It wasn't
Best lighting in
the
a big
lighting
Magic
was the
event I've
best.
been
Yeah,
to.
that's the best lighting I've ever had.
Yeah, it was just so nice. And I mean, like, it wouldn't be able to handle an event much larger than, 1,000 people, I'm sure is probably the max they could have gotten into that room. But I'm okay going to smaller events like that if it means that's the kind of experience that we get, rather than, I'm thinking to, like, Magic Fest Vegas and stuff like that, wherein you're in this gigantic, enormous hollow box of a room with no carpet, terrible lighting. It was just really comfortable. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, from touching briefly like on the stage stuff that you were mentioning, it's like I understand why they kind of do it, obviously, because you want to have like that in the room foot traffic kind of walking by. You can directly see that the panels going on, because traditionally, I think in general, panels at these conventions don't always really pop off all that much. So I kind of understand that. But yeah, I do agree that like doing into the room would be great, or at minimum, and this is to anybody that sets up any event. This is me talking to you specifically. Put a monitor on stage, sound one specifically, but if you also are doing like video stuff, having a little TV screen in the center of the stage or just off the stage is also very helpful. Relying on your 2 speakers on the outside for the panelists to be able to hear what's going on, it doesn't work.
And that goes for like the panelists trying to hear someone asking a question,
Yes.
and when they're up at a microphone at the front, and just hearing each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the other point is you can go a lot higher on gain on a SM58 than you if the person is like right up on the microphone and have to do this, and that's like the only way that you can hear them. You got to jack that gain up.
Mm-hmm.
Another wild thing. I mean, we talked about this when we were there, but like how you said, it's like a convention again, or like they're treating it. It's like it's a convention with all these new content creators, and like is definitely like we were the old guard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I just saw all these people that were just like either, I mean, and this isn't an insult, like I just hadn't heard of them yet, and that's just because I am not like deeply mired in Magic, but obviously they're invited, so it's like they must have an audience, right? And it was very weird to see like just a bunch. It was like not weird, but it was good to see like just a bunch of new faces, right? Like I met a bunch of people and played a bunch of games with people that do stuff in our sphere or the same kind of stuff that we do, and it's just like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's just nice to see. Like you just kind of like we got so used to seeing the same people every time at these things pre-pandemic, and the pandemic ushered in a bunch of new people to it, and now those people are finally getting to get out the door and go to these things now that they're becoming regular again. It's just very neat to see.
I realized I met someone over the weekend that I already followed on Twitter, but I didn't connect the dots until I got home. And then they posted photos. I'm like, oh, you don't look anything like your profile picture, of course, which is fine. I just hadn't connected the dots yet.
Yeah.
I didn't know we went for ice cream with Jorbs until he left.
Oh yeah, I played a game of Commander with that guy, and he killed us on turn 6. And I was like, I stopped. I was like, this isn't Slay the Spire, old man. Like,
yeah, like I had never seen him in person. I just like am aware of who he was and whatnot. And then he took off after we were all like getting ice cream for James bought everybody ice cream.
Yeah,
and he was like, bye. And I was like, oh, I never actually asked who that was. I was just like kind of briefly talking to them. They're like, oh, that's Jorbs. I was like, oh, like I know that guy. Or at least I'm aware of his internet presence. So
he was super nice.
Yeah. Super nice dude.
Very nice. Very chill. Yeah. He was like, it's like, you're going to fall asleep. Are you okay? You're too chill.
Yeah. I had a nice conversation to the ice cream place with him, which was super nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about Commander real quick here, because that was also a big format that we played. I will kick us off by just saying I played more Commander this past weekend that I probably have played in the last 5 years, maybe 10, to be honest. I had a blast. It was a ton of fun. I put together a Queen Marchesa Mardu tokens list. And it was everything that I love doing in Magic, which is just making a bunch of tokens and smashing my opponents for 100 damage with 100 little little 1/1s. Decks maybe a little soft to board wipes, which it turns out people play a lot of in Commander. I had no idea. So I feel like I might need to make some tweaks on that. But hands down, best play of the weekend was it was turn. I don't remember what turn it was. Probably turn like 8 or 9 at this point. I draw Elish Norn off the top, player down, and managed to kill enough creatures on all 3 opponents' boards to be able to attack with the probably 20 tokens that I had at this point at all 3 of them, simultaneously killing all 3 and winning the game. It's the only game I won.
Nice.
I lost every other game. I probably played about 10 games of Commander this weekend. I lost every other game. I was maybe Kingmaker once. But that alone was worth the trip. It was great. And I'm like, I understand why people like Commander again. Right. This is pretty fun. So that was sort of my experience. And that's the only deck I brought down. I don't have, obviously, I built this deck. 20 cards were borrowed from Wheeler. So I need to now go get those cards. So I actually have the deck.
That was my favorite part of the weekend for you and Adam, who both borrowed cards from Wheeler. So you had cheat sheets that you had to bring out because he has so many cards in like German. And
I got lucky. I had a demonic tutor in German, which luckily I know what it is.
You recognize that one?
Yeah, I had is it a what Adamant Will, a Chroma's Will?
Yeah, it's a Chroma's Will.
A Chroma's Will. That one, I
remember
was just like, I can't remember what this one does.
We played a game, and I was confidently like, "Oh, just show it to me. I'll tell you what it does." And then you showed me. I'm like, "Oh no, this is a card from like a recent Commander set. I have no idea what this says."
So yeah, there it is. 3 and a white, instant. Choose one. If you control a commander, you get both. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn, or creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until end of turn.
What the?
Sometimes with a foreign language
That's
card,
absurd.
if it's like a 2/2 for 2 with 2 abilities, you can kind of look at it and say like, "Oh, I think this is like first strike lifelink."
Yeah,
but then with this one, it's like, "Oh, cool! Every word in Magic is on this card."
It's
exactly.
instant.
Yeah. So, anyways,
that
was in my
okay.
deck.
Yeah, and you'd only won one game that weekend, James? Jeez.
All right, that's hurtful.
Look at this card.
I only drew it 9 out of 10 times.
You had a demonic tutor, James.
Yeah, I never.
Speaking from someone who is an expert tutorer,
I was
never
gonna say,
yeah. All right, somebody else talk about their Commander games and decks.
I played so much Gonti that I kind of got tired of looking at other people's cards. It was great. I've been waiting to play paper Commander since the world shut down, because like playing Gonti or like Tybalt from Call Time across webcam Commander is kind of miserable. I mean, shout outs to Infinite Tokens, obviously, like making it a bit easier, but still it's gross. Like, it's not great. Trying to get someone to be like, okay, show me, everybody else close your eyes, right? Like, show me the top 4. So on paper, I played enough Gonti the first 2 days that I was like, this isn't always just giving me bombs, because people play synergies. So I started playing my Brunor deck a bit more towards the end of the event, and did manage to like have some massive command. I started caring about commander damage for the first time, because I was in a game with you, Adam, and Voxy and Daniel, and we realized that my Brunor was like a 19-7 or something like that with all the equipments it had on it. So it was like, oh,
that was a big Brunor.
I actually have to care about commander damage. That's the worst. I've become everything I hate.
I just never worry about it. I'm just like, whatever. Yeah, you know.
But yeah, I got to look at all of your decks and cast all of your spells. So that was fun for me. I don't know if I won any games of... I might have won that game with the huge Brunor, actually, of paper, of regular Commander. I won some Baldur's Gate, but I don't know if I won my games of paper Commander. I just remember looking at different people's stuff and taking their different weird, kooky synergistic cards, trying to make it work.
I was playing my... basically card for card my list from game nights when I was there. And I played a Zoni. The Thousand-Eyed? Is it Thousand-Eyed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that deck had too many tutors. I think I talked about it on Twitch, or not Twitch, on Twitter, but I was like, man, there's a lot of times where like I was playing and I would just like have a tutor in my hand. I'm like, I don't really feel like using it because I could just go grab like Craterhoof Behemoth, right? Like at any time I want. And I'm just like, I didn't really like it. I was just like, I just let it sit. And then I just like kind of played cards off the top of my deck as I drew cards off of Zoni, right? But I just kind of ignored the tutors a lot of the time. And I'm like, if I'm going to redo that deck, then I'm just going to like take out a lot of the tutors, maybe put in a board wipe because I didn't have any. Like, really, like my board wipes in that deck were very weird, janky ones because, like, I had like Dictate of Erebos and Butcher of Malakir. But it turned like, I mean, Butcher of Malakir with like Yeheni on the board is a nightmare for everyone. Yeah, Yeheni was so good this weekend. Man, what a card for 3 mana.
Henny's just very good.
Yeah, Henny's just an absurd card. Like every time it hit the board, I'm like, wow. I mean, everybody's stuff's dying and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah, I mean, this card was an Aether Revolt like all-star.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, it's just a messed up card. Really, it's cheap. It has a massive impact on the game. It also enables like all of your synergies like for free. You know, it's like I think there's a reason they don't print free sack outlets anymore, really. You know, you got to pay something to do it because like geez, it just warps the game, right? Just completely changes everything. And I mean, like I played a bunch of games and every game I won I slammed a Craterhoof and no one had an answer for it, and that was it, really. That's just, I mean, I kind of like that though. Like I like it when people I don't mean, obviously I'm not a commander expert, but like is the rule of thumb should be you should have like, you know, 1 or 2 of those in every deck, right? Like not a Craterhoof, but something like that ends the game on the spot, right? Like it's just like, yeah, you have to have an answer right now or this game is over.
Yeah, I think too many people are concerned with the game going on forever. So cards like Craterhoof Behemoth or Cyclonic Rift and whatnot get a pretty bad rep because they're like, oh, this just ends the game or whatever. And it's like, and then you get to shuffle up and play another game. Yeah.
You just play again.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, you know. Like I remember when Cedric came down for the PPR, we were playing like his first games of Commander, and I think he comboed out with a zombie deck on like turn 6, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And we were just like, nah, dude, kill us.
Yeah, I can tell that story in more detail, actually. Yeah. So I'm playing the Pirate Illithids deck, and I play a bunch of stuff. The Pirate Illithids deck is cool. And Cedric is playing also blue-black, but it's a Wilhelt deck that Joey has built. It's Joey's Wilhelt deck from Midnight Hen. And Cedric casts Rite of Replication, targeting my Grey Merchant of Asphodel. And Cedric has even more black pips than I do. And I've just cast Grey Merchant the previous turn to gain 50 life. And Cedric's going to resolve this Rite of Replication and deal like 75 or 90 life drain to everyone. And after the game, I realized as I'm like picking it up, because I was just like so happy. This is like, yes, the game's over. After the game, like, oh, I could have just sacrificed my Gary to my Woe Strider that was on the table. But that's way less fun. Yeah. And like game's ending is nice.
So what's really funny about that is that wasn't even what I was talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Cedric's other first game of Commander.
Well, it wasn't his first game of Commander.
Oh, okay.
But like it was his first games of Commander that he was playing over the weekend. So it's good to know he did it twice.
This is just how giant zombies Cedric is, apparently.
This was a completely different scenario. So it was just like, okay, cool. So you got to do it twice. That's how. I mean, that's awesome.
No, so he is just a monster. Good to know.
He's just good at
yeah. What about you, Ben?
So I brought 4 decks, 2 of which I had sort of had before, but I had only really played once or had them played once, and 2 that I built new. So I brought one of the new ones was Morophon 5-color Eldrazi, which was just an excuse for me to throw in all the colored Eldrazi that were from like Oath the Gatewatch and stuff like that, and Bout for Zendikar, because despite the fact that Devoid says they have no color in Commander, they're still counted as having that color identity, which is super annoying. So initially this was a colorless deck, but I was like, I want to play all these ones. So it was more fun. This deck sucks. It was terrible the whole weekend, but it's still just flavorful and goofy. One of the new powerful decks that I built was Firesong and Sunspeaker. which is the burn deck I was talking about, which is just life gain and shooting spells. And flinging like burn spells and stuff at people. This deck won over the weekend by casting Chain Reaction when there was like there was at least like 20 some creatures on the board. So that means every single creature takes 23 and you gain 23 life times the 23 creatures, basically
23 squared life or whatever.
Exactly. And I had Aetherflux Reservoir on the battlefield, and I just domed everybody for 50, killing them all.
Nice.
So that deck's a lot of fun. I had a Sultai Mutate deck, which is with Otrimi, which is one of my favorite. Mutate's one of my favorite mechanics. This one I had played before, and is super medium. I think I might end up actually changing it to 5-color Mutate. We'll see. But it was kind of mediocre, and it had very mediocre results all weekend. But my favorite deck and the winner of the weekend for me was Cathril Aspect Warper. This deck is awesome. I love it so much. It is a dredge deck that just seeks to put a bunch of keywords in the bin and then resolve Cathril Aspect Warper, who is a 2 white, black, and green for a 3/3 Nightmare Insect. And when it enters the battlefield, you put a flying counter on any creature you control if you have a creature in the bin that has flying. Repeat this for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. Fortunately, which I did learn over the weekend, not Haste, which is sad, but I understand why. But yeah, this one I got, the biggest I got them to be was all those keywords, and they were like an 11/11.
Yep.
It unless you have something like a Toxic Deluge or like a Farewell, you literally can't kill this thing. And it just gets to kill people with commander damage. And it was sweet. Like, I don't think it was like I don't think it's overpowered. I have a couple of Entomb style effects that will throw the cards that I want. Usually it's like Zatalpa into the bin just so I can get that indestructible and stuff like that. But yeah, this was my favorite one, and probably my favorite deck that I own now. Although I think the next on the docket is I went up against somebody who had a custom built Henzi deck, who is one of the new Capenna commanders, the Jund one, that just gives all your creatures CMC 4 or higher blitz. And for each time you cast Henzi from the command zone, your blitz costs are reduced by 1 colorless. And you just get out real big dumb idiots.
That sounds fun.
That sounds cool as heck.
Yeah, like Woodfall Primus, you get to cheat him out. He gets to blitz out, kill some things, dies, you draw a card, and persists back, so you just get Woodfall Primus. There was probably the best play that I saw. It's so basic, but it was Ashwood Tree. It's the tree folk that when it enters the battlefield, you get to search for 3 forests.
Seed Guide Ash.
So you blitz this 5 mana tree folk out, you get 3 lands, and then it dies, and you get to draw a card.
Jesus.
For 5 mana. It was so cool. So they actually had a spare foil borderless version of it that they gave to me. And I had them sign it, and I'm probably going to build that deck. I think
nice.
It was very cool.
There was I played a game against 2 people, well, 3 other people, but one of them was playing. Man, I can't remember the name of it. It's like a blue commander, Orvis or something.
Yes, Orvar. All
Man.
seeing or something.
Yeah.
Changeling?
That deck was so cool. They were just copying like Cloud Post. Like
it was a blue landfall deck.
Yeah, it was a blue landfall deck, and they would they do like, you know, that blue tap. What's the blue land that taps a creature that's already tapped? Oh man,
Ooh.
It doesn't untap.
Like keeps it from untapping?
Yeah, it keeps it from untapping. It's from something, and I can't remember what it's called.
Is that Zendikar or Worldwake? Like a common land from one of those two?
Or it's from Zendikar Rising.
Okay, yeah, it might be Zendikar
Zendikar
Rising.
Rising land. Anyway, there's a blue land that enters the battlefield tapped, and it taps down a creature, or a creature that doesn't untap or it's untapped tap. And he just kept like locking things down by just copying that land over and over again. It was very goofy and very funny.
It was a bunch of spells that were able to target like permanents. So they would basically target their lands with these spells. And Orvar says whenever you cast instant sorcery spell, if it targets one or more permanents you control, create a token. That's a copy of that permanent.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it when people make token lands.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was it was so cool.
It was so cool. And then I killed him with a Crater Hoof Behemoth. So really.
Yeah, but I mean, copying like the locust lands was brilliant.
Yeah, the cloud post is really funny. I don't know. I just love seeing stuff like that. I think that's the thing I forgot about, and it's like the thing that it was my favorite about events like this, where you just get to hang out with people and see their goofy shit.
Yeah,
you know, I just want to see the weird, goofy stuff that they play with at their like home group and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'll say that. I think, I played about 10 games this weekend, and only in one pod did I run up against Infinite Combo.deck, where it's just like 3 or 4 turns in, the game was over. And I was like, all right, again, I guess.
Ben, were you in that game where I played against a WotC employee and they had 2 different decks? The first one was like, I really want to play this deck. I haven't played it in a long time, but it's pretty good.
That was me.
Okay?
That was
you and me, James. And then we played against him again, and then he killed us again on like turn 4 or whatever. Like he killed the whole. It was like, well, this is my goofy deck. And then it was like, instead of turn 4, it was turn 6 or something, and then he killed everyone. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I was in that game too.
Was it Gavin?
No,
it was not Gavin.
No, Gavin has the tech.
Yeah, Gavin doesn't show up to these things with decks. Gavin
shows up to borrow a deck. Yeah,
Gavin shows up with a phone and I assume a wallet, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And he just sits down, and people will just give him decks.
He has to play somebody's deck, and then he doesn't have to carry a bag. Nothing.
Yeah, Gavin's a genius.
No.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap things up. So again, thanks to Pastime for having us down for our first event in a very long time. We all had an absolute blast, and looking forward to whatever is next on the Magic docket. There is nothing on the immediate horizon right now, but keep an eye on Twitter and Discord and stuff like that, and we'll let you know when and where the next place that we're going to be is. Quickly want to shout out our sponsors again here, Card Kingdom, cardkingdom.com/LRR. That applies the affiliate code, lets them know that we sent you. Please do go check them out. At the end of your order, you can say Loading Ready Run sent me button, please. And if you do, you will get a little 1-inch button that says A Kingdom of Cards. And of course, everything is brought to you by you over at Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. I was not Adam. He was Adam. I was James. We got Ben. We got Nelson. Paul was running tech on this one. Thanks to Paul, and Heather gets these online. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.